And if you look at construction for San Francisco, it's basically non-existent. Okay, nobody is willing to build anything in San Francisco, and it sucks, right? This is supposed to be America's tech capital, and what's really crazy is this place is honestly pretty compact. It's not that big of a space. It's actually a pretty small space, all things considered. San Francisco, it's a lovely place. I've been here before the pandemic, but now it's not lovely. It's pretty dirty and it's pretty scary, and it's probably one of the most dangerous cities you could ever go to. And if you look at the city, you do see 24/7 in the past, there was always major construction projects. This is why the downtown area looks like this, right? Where there's always constant big units. Now, before the pandemic, it was getting almost close to 3,000 brand new condos and apartments hitting the market. And every single time when a new condo or a new apartment that hits the market, it immediately gets rented out. Everyone wants it. But now, with new apartments, new condos hitting the market, nobody wants it. Okay, it's because the street conditions of San Francisco is just so bad. Nobody wants to be here. So what's going on here is developers have started construction on 229 apartments in San Francisco during the first 2 quarters of the year. Dude, what? That's pretty bad. Even my small little suburban town of less than 500,000 people just built like 600 units, maybe even 700 units in just the past 1 quarter, let alone just 2 quarters of building. And compared to the 1,400 area average in the first halves of each year, beginning in 2013 to 2022. So if you look at construction, it's pretty much 1/7 of what it was before, which pretty much means all the major construction companies, the furniture companies, and the companies that support housing are all leaving. They don't want to be in San Francisco anymore. And you may also be wondering, why is nobody building units? Well, number one, it seems like trying to get approved for San Francisco building is still very difficult. Now, for the projects that do get approved, like Hayes Point and One Oak, two of the biggest San Francisco projects, have now canceled on their own terms. They don't want to be in San Francisco strictly because it's a pretty big doo-doo city. It's not that great of a city. You got massive projects already being handed back to the bank, to the city. Okay, lots of condos that just recently hit the markets are no longer being sold, with maybe like half the units being sold. And the units being sold got like really crazy high discounts. We're seeing record office vacancies, offices being sold for like 80% off. On average, we're seeing offices being sold for 50 to 60% off. And that is not great news. I mean, Wells Fargo has recently sold their place for like 75% off. They listed it for 160 million, they sold it for 40-ish million. That's pretty bad, all things considered. And a lot of these condos, they look great, okay? San Francisco is home to a lot of boutique condos, but now even these boutique condos, nobody wants them. And look at Nema, right? This is a luxury condo here. It's high-end. It looks really good. It's a skyscraper right next to the Twitter headquarters, or X, however you want to call it. And these guys might be foreclosing on a $400 million loan. And this is just one of many buildings in San Francisco foreclosing. Westfield is gone, right? You got several land plots being handed back to the loaner. You also have the mall. They're gone too. Nordstrom, Bloomingdale, and also several smaller malls in San Francisco have foreclosed. You got the hotels closing down. It's just not a great sign for San Francisco construction. This is why people are no longer coming to the city. And especially, I want to mention this, crime is so incredibly bad. The shopping incidences in San Francisco, where there's robberies, crime, theft, is at an all-time high. And businesses just can't function here, right? Imagine owning like a small mom-and-pop grocery store. You can't make any money here. Okay, you're going to get shoplifted all the way to the core. So people just leaving San Francisco, rich people, landlords, you're seeing billionaires and multi-millionaires all leaving San Francisco. This is why apartment construction has slowed down so much. And people are saying that next year, instead of 200 apartments in the first 2 quarters, you may be seeing maybe like 50, 60 apartments in the first 2 quarters. This is bad, guys. In fact, one of the reasons why construction has slowed so much is there's so many buildings in foreclosure that if you do want to do any sort of real estate business, it's actually worth more just to buy a foreclosed building, because nobody's bidding on those, than just to build new construction. Why build new construction when there's so much empty space around? I mean, the vacancies are hitting like 40% at this point. It's terrible. And San Francisco rents are now cheaper than New Jersey. And that sucks, okay? San Francisco used to be up there with Manhattan. Manhattan's 1-bedroom rent is almost 4 G's, guys. It's almost $4,000. New Jersey is 3,300. Look at San Francisco. Look at the rental prices. It continually goes down. Just keeps going down every single day. Now, remember, San Francisco rent is still crazy expensive. $3,000. But it's so much better than like $4,000, right? Or like $3,800. Even places, luxury apartments like Nema. Nema actually has a lot of really cool stuff. And if you go to their availability, they actually have several crazy deals. Some of the deals are really worth it. Now, if you look at like their studios at like almost 500 square feet, they're renting them at a starting price of $2,800, which I know is pretty expensive, but it's actually a fairly good price for a big tech city like San Francisco. But with so many companies moving out and with Nema about to go bankrupt at this point, they were offering some really sweet deals that really lower the price from like $2,800 to more like in the lower 2000s. So you do see a lot of rent stuff happening in San Francisco, and even in Mission Bay, for example, there's this luxury boutique condo of like 20-ish units. They couldn't sell a single unit in months. They try to sell the whole building, nobody wants it, and after like a year or two, it finally got sent back to the bank. That's scary. Guys, I go to New York City and I meet with people who do real estate. They make like small condos of like 10, 20 units. They say every single time they launch it in Brooklyn, there's always a bunch of people lining up to buy it. Okay? San Francisco, when you launch these boutique condos, not a single person buys it. And it's terrible to see this kind of stuff. And look at San Francisco, right? Crime is just through the roof. Everyone likes San Francisco, but nobody likes crime. Here's the thing, San Francisco is getting really bad. The homeless crisis is just getting out of control. When you got to put fences around the federal building to prevent tents and insane amounts of drug use, this city has basically failed. Okay? I mean, San Francisco is just getting worse and worse by the day. Nothing ever changes. And what's really crazy is just like Chicago, they never truly address the core issue, right? The core issue of why businesses are closing down is because of the homelessness crisis, the crime, and the intensive shoplifting. You could do the vibrant program. You could tear down a mall to make a stadium. But if cities just never address the core underlying issue, that city's never going to recover. I guarantee you, if San Francisco suddenly starts cleaning up the streets, if San Francisco says that they're the safest city in the U.S., their homeless crisis is totally solved, and there is no open-air drug markets, everyone's going to come crawling back. I mean, real estate developers will probably be the first to hit the shelves and start building towers. But because the street conditions are so terrible, it just looks like this half the time. And guess where this is? This is right next to the Westfield Mall. And this is also just blocks away from the Twitter headquarters and also Nema. So if San Francisco looks like this, why would I want to move here? And there's just one street, guys. It's multiple streets, multiple places like this. Businesses that have several tents in front of their store, suddenly, they call the police, call the city council. They won't do anything. And eventually that bakery, whatever, just closes down. And then the city's like, oh, I'm not really sure why we're having so many vacancies. Well, it's because the streets look like this half the time. San Francisco really needs to get itself together. It's a great city, fantastic vibe, but now it's not so great.